A very cognitively troubled Donald Trump was wandering on top of the White House roof this morning, making weird hand gestures and yelling to the press, "Anything I do is financed by me. More ways to spend my money. I'm paying for everything." Here's what happened. Let me just show you the clip.
On the roof of the White House, he's taking questions, or he was just a few moments ago. Let's listen in, please.
Looking good, Peter.
Are you going to pull up
I
there?
do. Something beautiful.
What does that mean?
What do you? More ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another hint?
We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country. Anything I do is financed by me, so you're not where it's contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that.
Yeah, a deeply disturbing moment indeed. He then called up CNBC and started ranting and raving like a lunatic. I'll show you that in a moment, but here's another angle right here of him on top of the roof. Here, play this clip.
More ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another hint?
We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country.
As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes, there is a senile old man in orange makeup wandering around on the roof on the White House, making weird hand gestures and yelling out, "I finance everything. I pay for everything. It's me who pays for everything." So then he calls CNBC. There's a host on CNBC, Joe Kernan, who's like an ultra MAGA guy. And all these CNBC hosts like treat Donald Trump like he's a little baby, and they like baby him. It's such a strange thing for a financial show to be doing this, but that's the corrosive nature of corporate news right now. But Donald Trump then talks about undocumented farm workers, and he basically says that migrants, they're built for farm work. They have good backs, and if their backs hurt, then they die. And then he seems to suggest that black people are not good farm workers as much as he tries to make them become good farm workers. That's what he's saying here. But this is what he's saying on a financial show this morning after walking on the roof. Here, play this clip.
Back to their country with a pass back in legally, and we're doing things that are very difficult to do and very complex, but it works really well. We're sending them back, and then they're schooling, they're learning, they're coming in legally. We have a lot of that going on, but we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody, these people, you can't replace them very easily. People that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. I said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it? These are very, in many ways, they're very, very special people. Okay, go ahead.
No, okay. So
then he talks about putting tariffs on pharmaceuticals up to 250%. And again, he's just saying numbers. 150%, 250%. We're going to make all the pharmaceuticals here. So you're just going to make everybody's prescription drug prices cost a lot more money. Okay, anyway, play this clip.
Chips and semiconductors. But on pharmaceuticals, we'll be putting a initially small tariff on pharmaceuticals. But in 1 year, President 1.5 years maximum, it's going to go to 150%, and then it's going to go to 250%. Because we want pharmaceuticals made in our country. And that's not the CHIPS Act like Biden did, because he didn't know what he was doing, where they gave billions of dollars to companies that had more money than they knew what to do with.
President Trump, can I ask you about...
Then Donald Trump rants and raves on the CNBC show that he has the highest poll numbers ever. Even though his poll numbers right now are in the mid-30s, they're actually the worst ever. He says those polls are rigged. Those polls are fake. In fact, his polling is in the 70s, he says, with minimal pushback from Joe Kernan and the CNBC folks. Here, play this clip.
We'll all talk about all the stuff that...
Hey, Becky, I'd like to run. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. You know why? Because people love the tariffs, and they love the trade deal, and they love that countries... And they love that foreign countries aren't ripping us off anymore. For years, they ripped us off, friend and foe. And the friend was worse.
You don't. Overall poll numbers, you don't have the best you ever had. In overall poll numbers, you do. I cited one of those.
I have the best poll numbers I've ever had.
Among Republicans.
I have poll numbers where I'm 71%. I have the best poll numbers. Look,
those are among Republicans. You know you've got...
No. Among Republicans, I have 94 and 95%. No, I'm talking about generally. I have the... Let me put it this way. There was a gentleman on Harry Emden yesterday on CNN, and he went crazy over how well Trump was doing. Now, you don't put that on because I think CBS is a shade... Actually, CNN's a shade better than NBC. I think NBC is probably the worst of them all. But if you check CNN tomorrow, watch Harry Emden, and you'll see about the numbers. But that's okay. We have to defend ourselves, Joe.
I know, but there are other. They can cite. Your haters cite polls that have you down in the 30s, Mr. President. And,
yeah, but they're fake polls, Joe. I had a lot of fake polls. You also have me in the 70s.
Then Donald Trump tries to make the case that all of the job numbers and all of the economic data that's out now showing that the economy is doing very bad, is he says that's rigged. And you'll see here the MAGA-friendly host, Joe Kernan, I would say maybe somewhat pushes back, but not really. Here, play this clip.
And certainly suboptimal, but rigged? Where do you get the notion that it's rigged, or do you have any evidence there?
It is antiquated, but it's also very political. And, I had an election recently where I did very well, won every swing state, won the popular vote, won everything, all right? Won all the counties. It's, I think 87% of the counties were Republican up. That's never happened before. And yet I had to go through hell. And just days before the election, they put out numbers that it was like the country was on fire. It was doing so well. And then they did a revision about 2 weeks later, and the revision was down by almost 900,000 jobs. You remember that? And I said, what would have happened? What would have happened if I lost? Think of it. I would have said they gave phony numbers, and then they revised them a week and a half later.
Those were benchmark numbers, though, Mr. President. That happens. They do that. They do that twice a year. And it reconciles the monthly figures with like the overall numbers, and it was a big number. And obviously,
the numbers were rigged. The numbers were rigged. Biden wasn't doing well; he was doing poorly. They announced these phenomenal numbers 2 days before the election, and a little bit before that. Always these great numbers, and you knew it wasn't doing well. You knew prices were through the roof, and inflation was terrible. The whole thing was bad.